Hey, welcome back to Evil One Precision. In this episode, we are going to be highlighting some of the TikTok episodes that we've had out there, some of the YouTube shorts that we've had out there about reloading 40 Smith & Wesson. So some of this is going to be a little bit of recap, but I figure it's going to make a better video. It might be a little bit longer depending on how I can edit it down. But I just kind of want to show the entire process here of editing, or of reloading, and getting through making 40 Smith & Wesson on the Hornady Lock and Load AP with the 3D printed case feeder. One quick thing about this 3D printed case feeder, this comes from another YouTuber called, his name is Jeff Goodness, and I'm gonna put an for him on the description so he sees this again. Jeff, thank you so much. I've had this now for over a year now, I think. I put thousands of cases through it and it's worked flawlessly. I highly recommend, if you have a Hornady Lock and Load, to ditch that case feeder that might come with it, or you spend a bunch of money on, and get one of these things. It's quiet and it works. And you know, I've actually gotten rid of my case feeder that I had for this. I gave it to a friend of mine because this one is just so much better. So without further ado, let's roll the very first clip. The very first clip, we are deciding on what we are going to be reloading, and we decided to reload 40 Smith & Wesson. Enjoy.
Okay, so we're trying to figure out what we're going to load here. See the 40 Smith & Wesson ammo can, pull it up. Got a sneaking suspicion that it's kind of empty. I only have one gun that shoots it, and yeah, there's not a lot in there. So we'll grab some dirty brass. We'll grab our published load data. You always follow published load data. I use this in combination with online calculators and my own research to figure out the best possible load. And then write that down on a card just for quick reference. I do keep a spreadsheet with more accurate data. So step one, we need to wash this dirty brass, and so we're going to pour it in there. Now this brass has actually been tumbled probably 15 years ago or so with a corncob media, and I consider that dirty, and it's not clean. So I then like to use stainless steel media. It seems to work a little better. Those sharp edges seem to dig in a little better to the brass. My stainless steel pens don't seem to work nearly as well. We'll then fill that up with water. And then we'll add just a squirt of Dawn. And then what seems to be everybody's favorite part, a 9mm case full of Lemmy Shine. That seems to be the new standard of measurement. We'll use cartridge cases for our measurements from now on. Using too much doesn't hurt it, it just doesn't make it as bright. Alright, we'll turn the tumbler on for about 45 minutes. And 45 minutes later, it's time to separate those stainless steel chips and soap from the brass pieces. So we need to get our Frankfurt Arsenal media separator here into the deep sink. And we'll pour out this dirty water. And I'm looking to get all the pieces of brass and most of the pins out. Some of the pins will stick. I'll rinse it out later. We'll close up the lid nice and tight. Put the top on. Give it a bunch of spins. Now what this is going to do is separate the majority of those stainless steel chips from the brass. Those chips will fall down to the bottom portion there. I'll then remove that ball with the brass in it. Just get it out of the way. I'm going to pour off this dirty water. Now I do have a magnet right next to the bottom of the drain. This is stainless steel chips, but it is magnetic. And you can see just how dirty that water is. That's supposedly clean brass. Again, it was tumbled with a media, corncob media. So, all right, I'm just getting some good clean rinse water in there, getting some of the soap out. I'm going to return that brass to the clean water. Now I'm just trying to get any remaining chips out and get the soap out. Let's give it a couple good spins. Remove the brass once again. Trying to get some of the excess water out so it doesn't make a mess. And we'll pour off this water one more time. And you'll see in that corner where I'm pouring it through is a little strainer piece, and that's to catch anything that's floating. Some of these pens or these chips do like to float on the surface tension. You can see right there's a couple. Not a big deal, and I do use the other half of this to actually strain off the rest of the water from these chips. But here I'm just going to give it a couple quick tumbles just to get any remaining water out of the case mouths. And then we'll take a look to see how we did. Nice and shiny. Inside and out. Put them on an old food dehydrator I got at a yard sale on high temperature. And I'm just going to let that run overnight. And back at the loading bench, we're going to fill up the press with some primers. We're going to use the Vibra Prime to do this. Give it a good shake to get all those primers faced up the right way. The Vibra Prime is a great alternative to the stabby method of using a primer pickup tube. It's not 100% perfect, but it's a lot better than hurting your fingers and thumb trying to pick up all those primers. Once the tube is filled, we'll then transfer that tube to the press, put it over the primer tube, pull a little pin. They all drop in just like that. Replace the retainer clip portion there, and then put the fiberglass rod on top that pushes down and serves as an indicator. Okay, here we're going to fill up the 3D printed case feeder with some brass. We're going to use 1-shot case lube. I use a 1 gallon Ziploc bag and squirt a little bit in there. Now I do squirt a bunch in there. This is probably about twice as much as you actually need. And no, 1 shot does not hurt the inside of the cases. It does not affect powder or primers at all. We'll go ahead and throw these brass pieces into the case feeder. The weighted bottoms, the head stamp portion, falls down first into the tubes, which orients them into the correct way. Just like that, all filled up.
Metal holdy thing is delivered. Decapping and sizing. Spent bang button falls down tube into trash can. New bang button added. Flaring case mouth. Dispensing magical fire dust. RCBS lockout die prevents squibs. Freedom seed added. A pew is born. Let's roll. Sorry about the arm.
I'm all set up here. I'm cranking away on the 40 lock and load. 3D printed case feeder. And I am making 40 Smith & Wesson. Not a very popular round anymore. Used to be. I actually like it. It's got a lot of felt recoil, but it does a pretty good job. I also like 9 and 45. I'm not biased to any caliber. I got the 3D printed case feeder here, feeding the brass into the lock and load. Show you how that works. Just like that. So in station number 1, which is this guy right here, that is full length size and decapping. As you can see right down here, that's got a decapping pin, and that pushes that spent primer out. It falls down that brass tube right there, which is connected to that poly tube, down to the trash can. Yes, that is my trash can. Station number 2 is the expander die right here. But before we get to that point, this thing right here seats a primer. I have a weighted fiberglass rod that kind of pushes on the primer to keep them going down. This mark right here, when it's flush up here, it tells me I'm empty. I wish I had an alarm on it. This die right here flares the case mouth just a little bit to accept the bullet. This is the powder drop set up for a pistol currently. Got the micrometer adjustments on it. This station right here is the RCBS lockout die. And the way it works, this little plunger right here gets pushed up by the amount of powder, with powder stuck to it, and it can measure the distance between the case mouth and the powder, so the case mouth will actually push on the inner part of the die, and it'll rise up a certain amount up to this line right here, and then it'll allow it to go further. If it doesn't come up that far, if it goes too far, it won't let the press continue. It locks it out. So it tells me that there's a problem, and I avoid squib charges. This station right here is the bullet seating die, and the only thing I have to remember to do is every time there is a cartridge case in that station right there, I put a bullet on it, and then raise the lever all the way up,
That advances everything one station. Push it down, and then push it down a little more, and that seats that new primer. You can see right there, got a new primer in it. Pretty simple, straightforward. So yeah, every once in a while I'll stop and measure the amount of powder that thing's dropping. So, and then I also measure the cartridge overall length with the calipers. So we're aiming for 1.135 inches. We are using Winchester 231 at 5.4 grains. I wrote down CFE pistol at 6.5 grains only because I wasn't sure how much of the Winchester 231 I was going to have, and I got plenty. So I prefer Winchester 231, uses less powder. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson 165 grain round nose flat point Rainier ballistics, and that's what these bullets are. And so that's what I like to do, just kind of write everything down on a card. Keeps me straight. And yeah, so we'll just sit here and pull this handle, make a bunch of bullets, and yeah. Alright, we're coming up on the very last little bit of bullets that we have. There we go, that was the last one. And we ended up loading 101. I had 101 bullets to load. As you can see, I wrote it down there. I then put them into boxes and label the boxes with the load data that they are. There's my extra round. The ammo can is not looking as empty, though I could probably load a few more boxes and stuff them in there. That's better. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do the editing of this video yet. We'll see. I'm not the world's greatest editor, so I did film some shorts for like TikTok and for YouTube. So if you've seen those, great. You probably saw them a whole lot faster than you saw this video. But, you know, that's kind of what we're doing here. Is same thing as just kind of doing the shorts, and then maybe a better full-length, better explanation video on YouTube as a YouTube video instead of just shorts. So if you enjoyed this content, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.